Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here we like to explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And today is, yes, an ink day. Today we're going to take a look at Fountain Pen Revolution's Painted Desert. This is one of a set of 5 inks that I bought and that I will be reviewing over the next month or so. And it's one that I'm really starting to like. So they're made here in the USA. It says they are safe for use in all FPR pens, although today I'm going to be using it in the Mahjong C4 eyedropper pen because my Himalaya has a different ink in it right now. So let's look first here at the bottle. And the bottle is really just it's a nice simple bottle in it, but a nice wide opening, which I like. All the glass is not covered up by the label, which I like. And it's just big enough around in diameter that any pen can go in there, which I like. And it seems to be pretty stable when I've been using it. So again, I like that. So sometimes less is more, and simple really is the way to go, and I like that bottle. Now, what we're going to do as we go through this review is look at the performance on several different papers, then we'll do a dry time test and a swatch and a water test and all that good stuff, and then I'll tell you what I think about this ink. First, this is Ireful paper. This is a Japanese paper. Mine is in this loose leaf form, very affordable, link in the description below. And here you can see that this particular ink performs well on this paper. And there's really nice shading, as you can see. We're getting plenty of ink through there. It's a light ink. It's not oversaturated, which for the color they're shooting for is the way it ought to be. The way I see this ink is not just the Painted Desert, but kind of the Warner Brothers take on the Painted Desert and that brilliant artwork that they had in the background of all of those Wile E. Coyote scenes. From that point of view, I think they nailed it. Ink performs well, no issues on the other side. Now here on our standard Clairefontaine, which I use for all the ink reviews, it performed very well. Again, you see shading looks even a little bit lighter on the lighter ends of things. And as you would expect, nothing on the other side whatsoever. Now I also have here some old school Tomoe River paper, and check that out. It looks fantastic on this paper. It does write, just as it does in the lighter parts of the shading here. It swatches very, very light on the first pass. Now it gets much richer quickly. That second pass is much richer. The third, a really deep brown. So if you wanted to use this in artwork, for example, maybe even you're trying to paint the Painted Desert, well, look there. You're going to get some really cool shading dynamics as you increase wetness or layers. The shading really looks good here, and of course, even with the swatch, no issue on the other side. Another paper that I like to use, because a lot of you have different big box stores that sell some variation of this Vietnamese composition notebook, is a True Red composition notebook made in Vietnam. And a really good paper, especially for the prices that you see. And I find a lot of inks really perform well, even when you write the wrong thing first, right? But the shading here, a little bit different, but the performance is great. No feathering whatsoever. You do have just a little bit of the ghosting there. No bleed through here to the other side. But as you can see from the other inks, pretty typical performance. Then another affordable notebook I like to share with people is the Pen & Gear Dot Grid Spiral. It's a couple of bucks at Walmart, and they just almost always have it in stock at our local store. And as you can see, again, great shading. Very consistent, by the way, across the line that it's at the bottom of the letters. But you can see there, looks really good, distinct shading and good performance. And following the pattern we're seeing so far, great performance on the other side as well. And then, you know, fountain pen community staple, little Rhodia dot grid going on here. And here you see that it's even a little bit lighter in places, and yet really good dark shading in places as well. Performance is probably similar to the Clairefontaine. They're both coated papers, and there was no ghosting, bleed through, or anything on the other side. And then finally today we had the Ayush paper. And here again, great shading, consistent color, and no issues on the other side. All right, you're saying, but what about the dry times? How long do I have to wait for this shading to show up and be done? Well, let's check it out and see. 5 seconds. Still pretty wet, isn't it? 10 seconds. Still pretty wet, isn't it? Let's do 30 seconds. 30 seconds is nearly dry. We'll go ahead and do a minute just for due diligence, but it looks like probably after about 40 seconds, you're going to be good to go. All right, at a minute, it dry as a bone. You're good to go. No problem there whatsoever. So I'm going to say probably about 40 to 45 seconds on a coated paper like this is going to be good, a little faster than on more absorbent papers. All right, but what if you have an accident and you spill water all over your papers here, all over your nice writings there? What's going to happen to that? Well, this is important because let me tell you, just the other day I was sitting here working at the desk and I still don't know what in the world happened, but I reached for something very calmly, and yet somehow, as if I had no control over my arm whatsoever, I spilled water all over the place. Well, what are you going to do when you spill water all over the place? Are you going to be able to save what you wrote? Are you going to be water fast? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Let's give that a minute. All right, I think we've given that enough time. I'm going to dab this. Try not to make an even bigger mess. See if I can Nope. No. We're not salvaging anything here. Okay, so that didn't get that much water at the bottom here, so you can kind of read that. What did that say? Hold on. It said hold on. Well, some of the ink did and some of it didn't, right? But right here where it was the wettest, you're back down to the paper, and it's blue lines and just a little bit of a hint at what color used to be there. So no, this is not water-fast ink. Again, they didn't list it that way. It wasn't marketed that way. So we're not really expecting it to be. It's not like they fooled us on anything. But it is always good to know what inks to use and not use if there's any chance that it could get wiped off with just a little bit of water. This is a general use ink, and so water fastness is not necessarily high on the priorities. All right, now I kind of skipped a step there, didn't I? You're wondering, what is he just not even going to swatch this ink? No, he's not going to do it. Yeah, I am. I'm going to swatch the ink. Let's jump back in time here and get that done, right? All right, so here we go. First pass, second pass. And I expect on this paper that it will be kind of like on the Tomoe River and be pretty distinct in those three zones. All right, while that dries, let's look over the chromatography today. This one's kind of interesting. You do see very much what you see back here in that water test, and that is a real dark brown, and that then shades into pink, which is surprising because what you're seeing back here is not pink, but just lighter brown. But there's definitely some pink shades, and then down here where I originally wrote the line, just a very, very slight amount. So not overly complex to get the effects that they wanted, but I think these are always interesting things to check out in the chromatography. All right, so here you are. The bottle is 30 milliliters. It costs here in the U.S. $8.50, and it is made here in Texas in the United States. And if you'd like to support family-run businesses, FPR is one, so that may appeal to some of you as well. Really, really good ink. I like it. Seems very well behaved. Cleans out of the pen just fine. Promises and delivers no waterproofness, but does make for an interesting shade. So, for those of you who like a good brown ink, you might want to check this one out. And for those who want to use natural colors in some artwork, I would think this is one that you really might want to check out. But what do you think? Share that in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, sharing, subscribing, and God bless you, and have a good week.